What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today with your I guess what I'm gonna call the video is one player from every position that might be a sleeper. So these are all guys that I don't expect to be picked in the first couple rounds, or if I do, it'll be like second or third round, late maybe. Guys that I think probably will be outside the top 50, maybe top 75. I'm going to try to dig deeper for some of these guys, but I'll tell you when I get to them. Quarterbacks, though, for me, it sounds like Tyler Shuck's probably going to go a little earlier than people expect, so I'm not going to really say him. Jalen Milroe is the guy we're going to highlight as the quarterback class. I think he'll probably be a third-round pick, maybe a second-round pick to the right team. I think the upside on Jalen Milroe is absolutely great. I at one point last year, before the season started, I said Jalen Milroe was going to be a Heisman candidate. That did not work out with me. But I think the athlete of Jalen Milroe, a really good player. I just don't know if the arm is going to, the accuracy is going to make him slide a little bit. He's a guy that I think if you can get the best out of him, he's probably going to be a guy here that could turn into being one of the better players at this quarterback position in this class. But it depends on where he goes. You need to go to a team that's conducive of that. You cannot wind up at a Browns. You cannot wind up at a team just not with very much quarterback help at the moment. Yeah, I think Jalen Milroe's best case scenario, and I kind of want to see his now or his trends, see if any of these make sense to me. The Giants, I don't think. Maybe with Malik Neighbors being there, it would help him, but I don't think the offensive line is really good for him. With these three options, probably the Steelers being his best case scenario in terms of where he winds up. Maybe even the Rams. I know they might be in need for a QB in the second round if they decide to go that route. Jalen Milroe, I think he'll be a really solid player. I think he might be the third best QB to come out of this draft. I know people are talking up Dart, Shucks getting some late hype. Obviously, you have Will Howard, Riley Leonard, guys that people are like, well, if you just need a guy to come in and be a second QB, those are those guys for you. I think, though, Jalen Milroe probably has the highest upside out of that group of next quarterbacks off the board after the top two with Shedeur and Cam Ward. Receiver, we're not going to talk about the top guys, even though I like some of these guys. I like Trey Harris. I like Xavier Restrepo. Savion Williams I like because he's big and fast. Isaac Tesla I like. I'd love to sit here and tell you about Tez Johnson. Isaiah Bond, I don't think he'll wind out of the top two, at worst top 3 rounds. Really good speed there. Tez Johnson also really good speed, just didn't run the fastest at a combine when people take what happens in like a 30-second period to be like the only thing to look at. I'm not too worried that Isaiah Bond didn't meet his standards that he said he was going to break the record. I'm not too worried that Tez Johnson ran a 4.5. I've seen them play on the field. They're faster than everybody. I'm not worried about those guys. Torrey Horton, though, is my guy here. Torrey Horton's a guy I probably think will go third, fourth round. A really good receiver. He's one of those guys at Colorado State that I thought really stuck out. I watched them play a few different times, and there was always... I like their quarterback at Colorado State, by the way, but there was always a receiver out there that was just... I'm like, how's he on Colorado State? Guess what? That was Torrey Horton. 6'3", 185. You might want to maybe put on a couple pounds. I don't know if that's going to last, but I think the player there, if you get him to the right team, and once again we're going to go to trends, the Packers, I don't know about that. The Lions, I would love that for him. Being the number 2 to the Vikings, I'd love that for him. Okay, so he's going to the NFC North. Of course. The guy I like is going to the NFC North to beat up on the Bears. The Packers, I don't know if that's the right fit. I think he best succeeds at a team where he might develop into being a number one option, but when you're on the Packers that don't have a true number one option, I think it's kind of going to be like forced upon whoever they draft in terms of the receiver to be like, hey, can you be our number one option? And then they'll be like, well, I might only be a 2 or a 3, which isn't anything bad if you're getting them in the 3rd or 4th round, but I don't know if that's conducive to Torrey Horton in terms of going to Green Bay. Whereas if you go to the Vikings, guess what? You have Justin Jefferson. If you don't work out as developing into being a guy that could be a number one, guess what? You're a number 2 to Justin Jefferson. What's the big deal? You're doing your thing. You're a solid receiver opposite of Justin Jefferson. Same thing with the Lions, except they got 2 of them, Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams. The expectations won't be super high. Torrey Horton, I think, would be very well off in a situation like that, where, guess what? We don't need you to go be receiver 1, but we do need you to go be like receiver 3 or maybe 2. Mason Taylor, it sounds like he'll go maybe even late 1st round. It sounds like he's that 3rd tight end. So we do got to find a tight end that is not Mason Taylor, that will potentially be that guy for everybody to look at as that 4th receiver or the 4th tight end. This tight end class, not a class that I'm going to be banging on the table for anybody. I really like Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. Obviously, I'm going to definitely hype up my Oregon guys. Really consistent the last 3 years. Got the ball a lot for a tight end. 6'5", good measurables there. 6'5", 255. Solid run blocker. Big time playmaker when he gets the ball in his hands. But for me, I think it's gonna be him. I think this is gonna be my tight end. I think we're gonna highlight him. Terrence Ferguson, though, at one point around those 70 range, now he's dropped off and now he's back up. Teams he'd be good on, though. The teams that are suggested, I actually like all 3 of them. If the Chargers don't get a tight end 1st round, Terrence Ferguson, guess what? He'd be pretty good with Herbert. The Seahawks, Sam Darnold get into a tight end. I think that'd be good for him because obviously JSN's there, and then who you got? And then the Broncos. We've had Bo Nix throw the ball to Terrence Ferguson before, and it was pretty good. So I actually like all 3 of those spots there for Terrence Ferguson. We're going to highlight Terrence Ferguson as the tight end to select. Probably going to get him in round 3 or 4, I'd imagine. Running backs. You ain't getting Genty in the 3rd round. I'm sorry. Whoever was sitting there with a 3rd round pick, I'm like, hey, maybe we get Genty. It ain't happening. Caleb Johnson, we'd like to highlight. Can't do it. These are all guys that are going to be long gone. RJ Harvey, a guy that's probably going to be in that 3rd round. But guess what? There's a guy out of Kansas State, DJ Gittens. When I watched Kansas State, I was impressed with this guy. Not the most wowing of numbers in terms of touchdowns or anything. Some good yardage. But this guy just always seemed to be like a difference maker. He made big plays in a snap. He could always... It couldn't be going well for Kansas State. And then DJ Gittens touches the ball and he's gone. I think he's a guy that if you get him on a team that throws some checkdowns and throws in a couple different running back schemes, DJ Gittens is a really interesting pickup. The Steelers, actually, I really would love that for him. If you kind of got him in a role similar to what they kind of split with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, I wouldn't mind that. The Chiefs, I would love that for him, actually. The Chiefs, they're a team that gets their running backs involved. They don't put too much expectations on their running backs, so it allows the players' true talent to shine through. And then the Vikings. The Vikings are a running back needy team. We haven't seen what they look like with J.J. McCarthy, so I don't really know what that's going to look like for them. But a team that definitely needs a running back, and DJ Gittens is a guy that I think can be a big-time playmaker there in that 3rd or 4th round. So DJ Gittens is our guy to highlight at the running back spot. Offensive tackle. This one's going to be painful, I already know this one's going to be painful. I think I'm just going to have to highlight Jonah. I'm going to be honest. I do like Xavier Truce, but I don't know if I want to talk about Xavier Truce because he'll end up being a 6th or 7th round pick. So, and I'm sure you guys are going to get fairly excited about a guy that I'm going to say his floor is pretty solid. He just doesn't have much of a ceiling. Jonah, out of Arizona, not a great year last year. 4 sacks given up. But the thing I like about him is there is some positional flexibility. If you are trying to find a guy that might be able to kick around, left tackle, right tackle, guard, whatever. Solid technique here. He's only 21. I mean, he's a guy that I think is probably going to be more so developmental out of the initial stages of his career, but I'm not going to be able to talk you into some of these guys. I think after Ursary, Jonah would be my next guy. I'm going with Jonah. I don't know why I selected Jonah, by the way. I was so used to always picking somebody. Interior offensive lineman, for me, I don't really know if you can even say there's any sleepers. We might have just done offensive line at a whole with Jonah, to be honest, because, I guess Tate Ratledge, but Tate Ratledge is the second best guard on the PFF board. So there might have been just offensive line at a whole, because this offensive line class just does not wow me. I'm not too high on anybody outside of the top 10, 15 guys in the tackle class. Even after Jonah, I just really don't know who I'd want in that class. The corners, though, we will highlight some of them. Who actually only one of them, I would love to highlight Benjamin Morrison. I can't obviously pick him for the sake of this because he'll be a top 50 pick and probably even early day 2, maybe even day 1. Really good player. If he wasn't hurt, he would be round 1. But you had to know I was going to my boy. If you've heard me speak of Kansas football and the DBs in this class and guys I'd be okay with the Bears taking and all that, Kobe Bryant is at the top of the list. You probably get this guy 4th or 5th round, but you look at the production. 4 interceptions both of the last 2 years. He is a guy that is just really solid. Now, is the peak of Kobe elite? Probably not. But he's a guy that you're not drafting to be a DB1, but he's a guy that at every point of his career has been a really good corner. You look at him, and guess what? You're not playing him as your top corner. You're playing him as your second corner. And I think there's a lot of teams in the NFL that Kobe Bryant could be an upgrade over. Passer rating 62.7, that's a really good year, by the way. That's a really good number to have against you. Consistently got better the last 3 years. He probably won't play much slot, even though he is 6'1", but this is just a guy that I've been a fanboy of since watching him play the first time a couple of years ago. So Kobe Bryant is my guy there. Mello Dotson, I also really like. If you haven't figured out already, I really love that Kansas DB room. Guess what? They no longer have that DB room. Because they're both going to the NFL, and they somehow just didn't do anything with it last year. Safety, I like Emmanuel Mukuba. He is a guy that is going to be borderline, on the edge of, what would have fit the criteria being in this. Do I want to talk about Malachi Moore? Because Malachi Moore is pretty good. Not the ideal size, as you can see here, but a really good player. A really good player. You're going to line him up deep, probably, I would imagine. I don't know if you'd line him up in the box too much. I mean, Bama did a decent amount, but I don't know if you do that in the NFL with him. But Malachi Moore, a guy that I think you probably could get away with if you want to be cheap and you don't want to go the route of some of these top guys at the safety. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun on any of these guys in the middle. If I can maybe get Malachi Moore in 6th round, 7th round, I might do it. Malachi Moore there is my guy. For the safeties, defensive tackles, I want it to be CJ West so bad, but I think he's just just on the cusps. I don't want to do too not chalky, but Deion Walker's somebody I like. won't jump out immediately, but on the field doesn't match the dominance suggested on paper. Deone Walker is just a really good player. He's just a really good player. At one point, yeah, you can see at one point, not too long ago, he was a first-round projection. And then something happened and he fell off. He just fell off. But I really like Muhammad Wilkerson. If I can get that in the like 5th or 6th round with Deone Walker, I'm doing that. I don't know average draft pick 105, but I feel like that's really oriented from the beginning. Let's see where actually his trends have him. His highest is 99. Yeah, I think Deone Walker fits here. Fits the criteria. We're gonna go with Deone Walker. Oh, I did that with Deone Walker too. But this might be the most awkward mock draft ever. Deone Walker going number 1, Jonah going number 2, Jonah going number 1. We're gonna go to the edges now. The edges class we really like. I would say Jack Sawyer. I just don't think he's going to exit the top 2 rounds. Jordan Birch, really like him. Don't really know if he would fit the criteria. Is there anybody other than Jordan Birch I want to highlight? Because I might... Yeah, this guy right here. Yeah, if you can get him in the 5th round, 14 sacks, 10 sacks, yeah. Antoine Powell-Ryland, every time I watched Virginia Tech, he stood out a little on the older end, scheme-specific guy, but if you can get him in he goes in and he's a pass rusher, it's a pretty good play right there. I really like Antoine Powell-Ryland. That is going to be my guy there for the edges. And now we get to the one y'all came for. We're going to talk about some special teamers. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't know much about these special teamers. Is there anybody I want to specifically shout out? We're going to talk about Andres. There's no way. People were taking him inside the top 15. That's funny. 18 of 19. I knew he was pretty good. I recognized the name. Andres, we're gonna highlight Andres as the potential special teamer to look out for in this draft. So there you have it. Those are my guys that I'm rocking with as potential sleepers. Obviously, there's more. Obviously, if we could make a whole list out of them, I would talk about a lot of the receivers, or I'd talk about a lot of the running backs, or I'd talk about this or that. I just wanted to give some guys some credit where maybe you aren't really talking about them too much in this lead up to the draft. Just give some guys some shine that they haven't really been getting. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.